Hi, I'm Teresa from Phoenix Gate Crafts, and welcome to the first official video in my series on what you need to think about when you start your own business. So today's video is about the 7 things you should be aware of for your first year in business. Now, everyone's going to tell you something different. These are just my personal opinions that understanding in that first year, like the rest you can figure out and Google search, but these are oftentimes things that don't get discussed so frequently. So let's start. Item number 1, get good at your craft. Whatever it is you're making or selling, make sure it's good. And you want to do this for several different reasons. First of all, handcrafted goods are fun to make. You know, it's so much fun to make jewelry or candles or soap. Like, these are things people do for fun. Knitting and crocheting, for example. And as a result, the market is oversaturated. There are too many sellers and not enough buyers to support that many sellers. As a result, there's a large number that just wash out because the business market is difficult. And because of this, the thing you should be aware of is that it makes competition harder. You're not just in competition with the shit candles that they sell at Walmart and Target and Bath and Body Works and Yankee Candle, because let's face it, they're not the best. You're in competition with a bunch of people who've been hand pouring candles for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, more than that sometimes. They've been making them luxury, selling for very high prices, very high quality candles. Even the cheap ones have a tendency to be better than what you can get at the dollar store. So there is stiff competition. If you can't make consistently very good candles, you don't have a leg to stand on. Because if you want shit candles, you go to Walmart. You want really good candles, there's a ton to choose from on Etsy. The simple matter is you're not competition. Also, on Etsy or on your private website, you're going to get a lot of questions. If you are not the ninja in your product, if you don't understand all the ins and outs and the details, when people ask you questions, you won't be able to answer them. If you can't give people real answers, like I'm allergic to coconut. Is there any coconut products in your soap? If you can't for sure say yes or no, they're going to not risk it and they're not going to buy it from you. If you don't understand the difference between a paraffin candle and a soy candle, aside from the fact that one is made from paraffin and one is made from soy, you need to be able to explain why you made that choice that you did when somebody asks about it, because inevitably somebody will ask about it. So it's a good idea to really know your product, to be able to get something consistently good. Because here's the thing, having a good product doesn't help you initially. Like that first purchase, it's going to probably be your price or your aesthetics or your description that's going to get somebody to buy it. But having a really good product results in 2 potentially good outcomes. The first one is repurchasing. Businesses are built on people going back and buying more and buying bigger orders. And if somebody gets that first product home, be it a candle or soap or whatever, and they don't love it, they're not going to buy it again. And people who love products or hate products leave reviews, which affect future purchases. Now, some people are willing to take a risk on a new business, and they're going to order something and they're going to try it. The thing of this is, if they love it, they're going to put a good review, and the people who weren't willing to risk it will look at that review and be like, oh, this is a good product. They're also going to say, look at the reviews and be like, oh, they're consistently pretty meh, or not very good. I'm not going to buy it. And the last thing to discuss with this is having a consistently good product. When that person repurchases, they're going to have the same good experience every single time. It might become as expected, but you want that because if they're looking for a pumpkin spice soap bar every year at Halloween and they look for yours first, that's an amazing thing that can happen. And you're going to have a lot more sales because of that, not just because of that one thing you do, but also if you do other things that they might like. There's a trust involved that becomes developed. So having a consistently good product is actually going to work in your favor over the long run. I mean, I remember buying this trash can. It's one of those where you push the lid down and then the lid comes up and then you push it down and it stays down. But the little locking mechanism doesn't always work. I mean, the really bad sign is when you get an email from the shop saying, yeah, sometimes the locking mechanism is janky. Try these things, and if it still doesn't work, let me know. I bought 3 of these. I originally bought 2, and one of them did not work. One did, one did not. So I sent that one back and got a replacement. So this is the 3rd one. And this one didn't work either. So here's the thing. I gave them 3 shots to give me a product. 2 of them out of 3 did not work. In this case, 2 out of 3 is bad. It means 2/3 of their product is really not ready for sale. I really needed this product because my dog thinks she's a waste disposal unit. So I was very upset. I left a politely worded review about disappointed and told people not to waste their money because 2 out of 3 chances it didn't work. Now, had they been able to replace that with one that did work, I would have been happy, but they didn't. Their rate of these products functioning as expected is so low. Once you have a good functioning product, then you want to make a business plan. Now, a lot of people think that the reason you make a business plan is so you can show it to a bank and get a loan. A sad reality is no bank in their right mind is going to give a brand new business a startup loan. You might be able to get a personal loan, but startup loans are very few and in between. There are new business loans and grants provided by the government, but they are very few and far between compared to the number of people trying to start new businesses, that getting your hands on them is a matter of luck. Having any of them available in that moment you're trying to start is a crapshoot. I could not get one. For my business, we wound up having to get a personal loan that didn't cover the purchase of the franchise. It covered most of it, but not all of it, and I had to come up with a separate deal to finish paying it off over time. This is actually very common and something to be aware of. And by the way, I had my business plan. Nobody looked at it. They did a perfunctory glance through, but they weren't going to spend any time reading it because they weren't going to give me a loan. They didn't have any of those kinds of loans to give me. But what happened was when I started my business, I had so many thoughts in so many different directions. And then somebody'd say, oh, have you thought about this aspect of it? And I'd say no. And then I'd have to do research. And it's just all this extra information in my head. So what I found very handy is that a business plan has sections and subsections. So I could go through and do one section at a time and further one subsection at a time. So I could do operations. So one section would be, what's my product going to look like? And how am I going to operate and produce this? How am I going to scale my business as I become more productive? What resources do I need? Those kinds of things. So you can think about it in those sections, and as you go through, you can get more and more ideas. You can also be like, in this section, the legal section of, oh, I just found out about this thing that really affects my operations over here. I'm going to go fix that. And then as you go through, all of these ideas and thoughts and feelings get organized. And so at the end, after you've done your SWOT analysis, that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you're going to be able to actually do the plan. You're going to have an idea of what you want to do and how to do it and what things you need to get done. And then whenever you get stuck on, okay, I'm supposed to be doing something, what still needs to happen, you can go through your business plan and check off sections that you've completed. Now, the most important section is the one that gets flubbed up the most, and that's the financial section. Because of item number 3. You're not going to make as much money as you think you're going to, especially not in the first year. Expression Fiber Arts has an interesting video about how she started her business. I'm going to link it down below, but one of the key things that I took away from it was that the first year she was in business, because she sells hand-dyed yarn, she only sold 1 skein of yarn her first year in business. And that is very common. I started my Etsy. I started it in 2018 expecting to sell crocheted products. And I sold a whopping 2 things that year. Also, quick note about my Etsy shop. I put virtually no effort into it, so a little bit can go a long way, but we'll talk about Etsy itself later. And the only time I put effort into it was 2018, and I was only able to sell a pair of leggings and some coasters. My vision for my Etsy has now completely changed and altered, and I'm starting to actually build it up, still with virtually no effort, but it has taken a long time to do that. So just be aware that when you're making like the financial section of your business plan and when you're making projections for growth, having more conservative estimates, not expecting very much at first. Because here's the thing about how a business grows. It's exponential growth. It starts flat. And you do all this effort. Your effort's like up here and you get nothing until you get that first one. And then nothing again for a little while. And then another one. And then another. And then another. And then all of a sudden you got 2. And then 3. And then 4. And eventually you get high enough. You reach a critical mass, so to speak. So your growth curve looks like this. And it actually, I mean, it's not even that smooth. It kind of starts out like this. And you go... It looks like the stock exchange little graphs they like to put on the news. Yeah. Looks like that. Not very good, and it really starts out hard. And as a result, a lot of people are expecting business and making back their initial investment in equipment and materials in the first 2 years. And quite frankly, that doesn't often happen. The first about 5 years are the growth stage. Many people choose not to take an income in the first few years simply because all the income they make gets put back into the business so that they can grow it so it becomes sustainable. And as a result, you know, it starts out hard and it's a grind and it's a lot of work, which is why businesses are not get rich quick schemes. If you're doing this because you have a hobby and you want to make the hobby pay for itself, I want you to be realistic about this, and you're not going to just put your stuff on Etsy and get sales. Even Etsy requires work and marketing and effort and funds, because that old adage of it takes money to make money, not gonna lie, it exists for a reason. Because the investment isn't just in materials, it's also in marketing and getting your name out there. Which brings me to item number 4. Start marketing early. The best thing you can do is the minute you get your name locked down, start advertising, start marketing, create your social media accounts, start your blog, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is, and start making that content, getting your name out there, finding new people, trying to get them to follow you. And if you do this for several months, I honestly recommend a minimum of 4 months before you open your doors. You'll have done some of that basic work. And when you're able to start, you've got, instead of having this many followers, you have this many followers, which means you're more likely to actually have sales when you open your doors, so to speak. Because here's the thing, it's going to take months to get that initial momentum going. If you do it after you start up, you're going to have several months with nothing moving. You can do that 4 to 6 months of work before you open your doors, or you can do it after you open your doors. You're not going to waste as much money if you do it before. At least you'll accept that you're not making money in that time versus hoping that you do. Which also brings up item number 5, which is don't rely on your friends and family to be your initial customers and to help you build your business. Now, I'm not saying that not all friends and family aren't helpful or anything, but about, no joke, 99% of the time, friends and family are willing to be an emotional support. They might repost some of your stuff on Facebook or Instagram, but they're not very likely to actually buy anything from you because they're kind of used to getting it from you for free at birthdays and Christmas or whatnot. Let's be honest. You've been doing that. I've been doing that. Most people don't put their money where their mouth is. They love you. They want you to succeed. They're not going to be enough. Even if you have an amazing sister who buys 10 candles from you every month, that's not the basis for a business. You need people you don't know coming back. So you need to get your name out there to people you don't know. You need to find your people out in the world, and they're everywhere. So yes, you might have some friends and family who purchase from you, but those are few, they're far between, and that's not enough to build a business. You need ultimately thousands of customers, and you need half of them to purchase from you more than once. Now, the next one's more of an operations thing. So item number 6, get your back office set up early. So yeah, some of this is get your desk, but also like your filing system. Get your emails set up, the one that you're going to use for professional reasons. And figure out your email filing system. Make sure you have like an external hard drive or a flash drive or a OneDrive or Google Drives or some kind of cloud-based system so you can access your information from multiple computers. Make sure you have a functional computer. I really highly recommend this one. Doing everything from your phone actually becomes harder over time. And item number 7 is going to tell you why you probably shouldn't have everything hooked up into your phone. If you get everything set up before you actually open your doors and start having sales, once you get busy, it means you won't have to worry about it. So making sure you have a system set up for inventory. Make sure you have a way that you're going to be doing your accounting and get that system in place, doing it on a weekly basis or whatever. I'm going to talk more about that in an upcoming video, but it really is handy to get everything kind of set up and figured out so it's easy. It turns something that can be an all-day chore into just like, okay, it's a 20-minute task, let's just get it out of the way. And it's not going to be that big of a deal. It means that when you do get busy, you're not hunting for stuff. You know exactly where it is. You're going to be able to find it quickly and easily. And you're not going to be wasting any time on something you really don't need to be doing, which is searching your office for a single paper. I know we all do that. We all don't keep up with it 100% of the time, but getting into a habit where you do makes things function better the busier you get. And item number 7, don't answer emails in bed. This isn't technically about just emails. It's actually about having a work-life balance. Because when you start up a business, it is very tempting to go 10, 12, 14, even up to 16 hours a day working because there's just that many things to do. But here's the thing. There's nothing you can do today that can't be put off until tomorrow. Now, you don't want to do that with everything, but there comes a point where you have diminishing returns, where you're just getting tired and grumpy. and it's getting really late and nobody's in their office anyway. So you might as well cut it off. I really do suggest having official business hours even before you open your doors. So, like, I'm a natural night owl. 8 to 5 does not work for me. I am not functional before noon, as my mom can attest every time she calls me and she wakes me up at 10 a.m. because that's my natural wake-up time, is about 10 a.m. So for me, being functional for my business between noon and 8 p.m. makes a lot of sense. I am most productive in that time. I have a couple hours to wake up, drink my coffee, pet my dog, and play with her. She is adorable. Look at this picture. But more importantly, she requires some time. If you have children, you can relate. Honestly, any pets require some time. Spouses take time. And you need to leave time for those, because my experience is whenever you make one thing your entire life, and if that thing ever doesn't go well, your mental health goes down. Also, you need things like rest, relaxation, recreation, stuff that's fun. When you're turning your hobby into your business, all of a sudden the things you were doing to relax, such as knitting, crocheting, making candles, making soaps, making jewelry, whatever the business is, all of a sudden that's not a rest and relaxation thing for you. All of a sudden that's work you have to do with a deadline. And it's no longer as much fun. It doesn't have that resting and relaxing quality. So having other things you do. So if you're making candles all day, maybe do some knitting. If you are making soap, maybe do some cooking. Make yourself a delicious dinner. Play video games with the husband, because here's the real big thing that happens when you don't. Let's take the email example. You're in bed, you're winding down to go to sleep, and you get an email from a customer that had a problem with a product that you sent them. And now your brain is in overdrive. So instead of winding down to go to sleep, all of a sudden, you're worried about this customer leaving a bad review because their product came, say, broken in the mail, which isn't your fault anyway. It's just something that happens, but still, because you're the one who sold it, it is often seen as your responsibility. So you start freaking out. Okay, what do I do? How do I handle this? Should I do a refund? Should I do an exchange? How do I handle an exchange? Do I have her send it back, or can she keep it? Now, did she break it, or did the mail actually break it? Is this fraud? And now all of a sudden you're in this panic spiral. However, had you just not checked that email, you could have done maybe a little bit of reading on the book you're enjoying right now. You could have gone to sleep. You could have woken up rested, had your coffee, played with the dog, and then checked your emails, and then you would have found this, and you would have been in a wonderful mental state to be able to handle it, because you would have realized you have a policy just for this. Pixar didn't happen. Have them send it back, and you can send them a replacement. It's that simple. But if you're tired and exhausted, you're not thinking properly, it sends you into a stress thought spiral that keeps you from restful sleep. So making sure that you've got a set time that you turn it off. 90% of what you do doesn't technically have to be done today. Some of it does, but not all of it has to be done today, right now. Get as much as you can done in the time you allow yourself. You can have extended hours. Maybe 8 hours isn't enough time in a day. Maybe you do need 10, but make sure there's a definite time where you cut it off, because your mental health will thank you. And honestly, you really don't need to head for burnout so soon. Save the burnout for never. Next week, we're actually going to get started into the how to actually start up the business part of your business. So I'm going to answer the 2 questions. Do you need a business license? And do you need insurance? And we're going to talk about different business structures. So I hope to see you next time. Happy crafting. Good luck. Goodbye.